this might be an internet first, and that is the unboxing and breaking of this seal.
You saw one on eBay? What color is it?
It's red.
See, there you go. It's the only color to have, in my opinion. I mean, that's reasonable for something that's unattainable. In your lifetime, you may not see another one. There really aren't that many. Is it in the box?
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Laptop Retrospective. In early 2008, work began on what would become a world's first. Lenovo started planning a laptop form factor that would run off of a Qualcomm CPU. It was to launch a new product class called the SmartBook. The SmartBook, as explained by David Cherbuck, was the combination of a netbook, a cheaper, smaller, and lower-cost laptop with the best of a smartphone, offering constant connectivity and ease of use. Peter Hortensius, the SVP of notebooks at the time, felt this new Qualcomm chip would give Lenovo the edge in the competition to fill the gap that was called the wasteland, or the tweener between the laptop and the smartphone. This ARM-based laptop would be the first of its kind, combining the functionality of that laptop but the constant connectivity of the smartphone as mentioned earlier. Keep in mind that this was being planned within 12 months of the first iPhone launch. It would run a custom operating system based on Linux, made in collaboration with Thundersoft, and engineers Mike Vanover and Jim Hunt worked hard to make that operating system a good user experience. Lenovo knew that this would be an important product. A laptop that is always connected with all-day battery life. It had to impress and wow everyone who saw it. That meant there was only one person for the job of designing it, and that was Richard Sapper. To learn more about the amazing story of its design, be sure to check out my interview with David Hill, who helped lead the design of the project. It took the hard work of many people, like the project leader Peter Goucher, to keep the device as thin and light as the model that Richard Sapper created. The web has become the window in the world for more and more people, helping them connect with friends and family across towns or thousands of miles away. Skylight combines the long battery life and connectivity of a smartphone with the full web browsing and multimedia experience of a netbook to create one of the first devices in this developing SmartBook category. Consumers want choices. They can now choose from a full portfolio of Lenovo mobile consumer devices, including netbooks, smartbooks, and laptops. Rumors of Skylight crept online in December of 2009 through Chinese media websites. It revealed that this new machine would run a Qualcomm Snapdragon CPU and have all sorts of bells and whistles, from a 720p web camera, all-day battery life, touch interface, and a suite of wireless connectivity. The name Skylight was also mentioned in the articles being published and whetted the appetite of journalists and tech enthusiasts around the world just before CES 2010, when it would make its debut. At 10 inches and under 2 pounds, the sleek red SmartBook caught the attention of media around the world. While it was offered in other colors like blue and an especially rare silver color, the red was a clear favorite. While netbooks had an Intel Atom CPU in Windows XP or Windows 7, this strayed away from the x86 environment, running a custom version of Linux that took advantage of the Snapdragon CPU. Lenovo revealed a $499 price tag with a connection agreement with AT&T to allow you to check your instant messages, emails, and more on the go, even when the lid was closed. Skylight, which was awarded the Best of CES Mid-Smartbook and Best of CES Best Mobile Device from Laptop Magazine and Computer Shopper respectively, was featured in Lenovo's report that year. So, when did things go wrong? In April of 2010 was the first release window that was missed. Laptop Magazine reported in April that it wouldn't be available until July in the US, and there were rumors of the machine being available in China slightly earlier in May. There was speculation that the pushback to July was to give Lenovo more time on fine-tuning the device, with some news outlets like Digitimes saying Lenovo wanted to make it more competitive against the recently launched Apple iPad. There were also issues around the latest version of Adobe Flash not working as well as they'd like. This was also noted by many journalists that tested models up until that point. As May 2010 finished, it was announced that Skylight would be losing its specialized Linux operating system in favor of an Android-powered setup. This allowed for more applications to be potentially available and less demands on Lenovo and its software partners to keep the operating system up to date by using an off-the-shelf solution. This meant pushing back the release of Skylight again, and Engadget reported a shipping window of Q4 of 2010. Lenovo posted the following update to their website on May 28, 2010. After careful consideration of market conditions and user feedback, Lenovo has decided to focus its resources on building a family of next-generation mobile internet devices based on open technologies such as, but not limited to, the Android kernel, similar to the Lenovo smartphone, which is now available for sale in China now. As a result, Lenovo's strategic shift towards the open standards such as an Android kernel-based environment, the company has shelved its plans to release the initial version of the Skylight SmartBook that featured the proprietary Linux-based operating system. At the end of June 2010, Digitimes reported that Lenovo was looking to use the slightly newer 1.5 GHz dual-core Qualcomm Snapdragon processor with the Google Android OS. Other news outlets like Tablet PC Review also mentioned these conversations with representatives with Lenovo and stated issues with the Android switch fueled the delay of Skylight and they were unable to provide a release date. After 2010, Skylight was more or less quietly forgotten by the general public and technology press. So, how did I get one? Well, there was an eBay listing. It was incomplete and open box. And given how rare they were, after having the conversation with David Hill about the design history of this device, I figured I should probably get it, knowing that it was probably my only shot to do a video on one of these machines. I waited a week, and then one of the worst things that I couldn't possibly imagine had occurred, and that was that eBay had lost the package. eBay told me there was no hope of recovery, refunded my money, and a piece of technological history has been lost, possibly forever. My only hope is that somebody finds it somewhere one day, understands what it is, and takes good care of it.
I haven't started this thing in a while. What?
Oddly enough, at the same time, David Hill let me know that he actually was able to find one in box for sale. Now, the person that was selling this didn't have any means to ship it to Canada, and I did reach out to ask if it was possible, but in the time that I heard back from that individual, I had already made arrangements with my good friend Tommy in Colorado to help me get the unit up here for me to film. The seller did originally get back to me, but by that point Tommy had already purchased the machine for me, and it was well on its way to Canada. And that brings us to today, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be unboxing a 14-year-old machine that was never released. And looking at the build date on the box here, this is going to have the original Linux software on it that they were talking about in the press that we saw in CES. This isn't going to have the Android version, whatever that is. I don't even know if such a unit exists. But one thing I will tell you is that this might be an internet first and it might be an internet last, and that is the unboxing and breaking of this seal. This may never be filmed again. I don't know. There are not a whole lot of these machines out there. And yeah, we're going to unbox this and we're going to take a look at what came with Skylight. This is a big moment. I am going to be cutting a seal on something that was never released. there you go. One tamper-proof seal peeled back on a product that never saw a commercial release. So on the inside here, we have a pull tab that has understandably probably decayed over time. The Skylight SX Smart Book. So this is an SVT unit demo, not a customer ship level machine. We can see the AT&T partnership there. And on the back here, it showcases the desktop navigator, touch sensitive, multi-touch touchpad, the one-key theater system, LED backlit HD panel, the view face, and just some other technologies here, and that's all powered by a Snapdragon CPU. Looks like the label is kind of shrunk over 14 years. Here's the machine. And here's a charger that doesn't look anything particularly exciting. 18 watts, 12 volts, made by Delta Electronics. And then we've got a quick start guide. So they got pretty far. Like, even though this isn't a customer ship level system, they had all the guides figured out. So that's obviously not English. So here we go. It tells you how to put in the SIM card, how to use the touchpad, connecting to the internet, and then all the functionality of the unit itself. And then we've got a very detailed guide. By the way, I do have the digital PDF of this, which I will be linking on a support article on the video, in the description of the video. So this is all neat and everything. We're going to need that, hopefully, if this thing even turns on. I'm prepared that it won't. That must have been fun to get packaged in the factory. Wow, this thing impresses, and I haven't even taken it out yet. Hopefully the packaging hasn't wrecked it. Oh my word. That is gorgeous. Okay, and this is what I was afraid of. So I noticed when I opened the lid that this thing has swollen. There is undoubtedly a swollen battery on the inside of this thing. And that's trouble. We might not be able to turn this thing on. Don't want to risk charging it. As you can imagine, I am terrified to plug this into the mains. It is a tragedy that the battery has swollen, but this is the nature and the risk that you run when you open up a 14-year-old machine. All right, we might be saved. They tell you how to remove the battery. It's the only thing that they tell you in this back manual piece. So we move the stick up, we remove those 4 screws, and this piece is just supposed to come up. Hold the C cover and remove. So we'll see if 14-year-old plastic will actually cooperate. Sphincter clencher, let me tell you. My plastic pry tool, let's see if I can't ease some of the stress. Okay, that is out. Finally. Well, I didn't plan on doing a disassembly of this, not gonna lie. But here we are. That's the screw for the keyboard. Looks like the keyboard shape has been maintained. That's a relief. So we got 9 screws now. Pop that ribbon cable early, just on the off chance that this whole thing is under as much tension as I think it is. That sucks. That is going to be absolutely a proprietary battery. So this is the storage PCB. Just a little SanDisk NAND. You can see the battery actually is snapped right there. All right, spicy pillow removed. Little bits of plastic that remain from that. Well, this thing's gonna weigh a lot less. Oh, the terror. The absolute terror. So that'll actually lay flat the way that it's supposed to. And now that I don't have to worry about that thing exploding, that's a boot screen, folks. That's a touchpad. All right, it'll run without the battery. Yes! Oh my word, look at this thing. I wonder if I can get this rebuilt. Oh. Look at this spicy boy that I just removed. This is what the risk you run when you've got a 14-year-old laptop that has never been turned on. The good news is the computer is salvageable. Bad news is the battery pack is not. All right, well, now that we got this thing up and running, let's accept the user license agreement. So this is kind of neat. This is a bit reminiscent of the ThinkPad wallpaper. Ooh, I wonder if the camera is just busted, if it's not working in this prototype, that's not what it should be seeing. Could very well be that just over the age, this thing has just toasted itself. All right, now that we cleared down the table and got rid of the spicy pillow that's on the inside of this, let's go ahead and talk about the specifications of this machine. So the Lenovo Skylight was originally going to ship with a 1 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon ARM2, and that's what's in this unit, although as I mentioned earlier, some of the later models might have had a 1.5, we're not sure. The display is 10.1 inches with a very generous chin due to the design and probably to hide all of the antennas that are on the inside of that. And that is a 1280 by 720 pixel IPS panel. The operating system, as we've discussed, is a custom Linux distro called Skylight OS. Storage is really interesting. So there's actually a lot of storage that you can have in this unit. They did really think that through. So we have the stick here, which in the original design, Richard Sapper imagined this as like a telephone headset that you could detach and use, because you have to remember this was going to have 3G inside of it, so you could use this maybe to have a conversation or a built-in microphone. Like, realistically, something like that would be pretty feasible, but ultimately they decided to go with a 4 gigabyte stick here. There is a micro SD card slot on the inside here, and this comes blank from the factory. There's nothing on it. And that's obviously expandable storage there. And then on the inside, when you saw when we opened this thing up for its emergency surgery, there is a SanDisk NAND on the inside there. That's 8 gigabytes. There's 512 megs of low power 22R2 PAM, I'm guessing is the RAM type. And then it would have originally also come with 2 gigabytes of online storage. Connectivity on this was 3G quad band WCDMA, Wi-Fi as well. And then for the ports and features, we obviously have one USB right here. And then if we close this, we can see the 720p web camera hole up here, which on this one, either because of software or reasons unknown, is not operational. And then on the left-hand side here, we have the headphone jack, the other USB port here, and then we have 2 panels here. One reveals the mini HDMI, and originally these are supposed to be held on by little rubber gaskets, but these gaskets have failed over time. Thank goodness the clips are still good so that they can hold in there. And then this one here is for a SD card slot. So lots of expandable storage, lots of ways to experience your media on there. The back has absolutely nothing. And then on the right-hand side, we have the charging port, which we are going to need to turn this thing on because this battery obviously is just no longer for this world. And if you're curious, the battery is a 26 watt-hour unit. You can see some of the details right there. And then the battery pack was manufactured by Sony, so we have some additional details up here as to all sorts of make and model information that, who knows, maybe one of you might have some insights on how I can rebuild this thing. It is worth mentioning that microphones are built into this as well, and we have our speakers here built into the actual hinge itself. And if you're wondering, the SIM card is right there. You just slide it in just like that, and you would have your wireless connectivity. I've already turned this thing on once to set up the operating system. We're going to go ahead and plug that into the mains, and we'll do our best to film this, of course. Now the boot time on this isn't too bad. Keep in mind though that this was designed to be turned on and left on and kind of run all day in your bag or wherever else you would use it to give you that sweet, sweet 10 hours of battery life. And in 2010, that's a pretty lofty goal. So let me enter my password. And you can see that it's going to launch all of the different apps in this 6-grid pattern. And I was able to connect this to my local Wi-Fi. And it's really interesting how all of these actually work, because you drag and drop the icons into the spot that you want to launch them from, rather than launching them immediately from the bottom bar. So you can have your most common apps pretty much right and ready to go. Now, you'll see a lot of familiar applications here, like Facebook and Gmail and Twitter, but all of these APIs are no longer working, in the sense that this is 14 years ago, and all of the code and access has changed. So even if you could enter your information and log in through this system, I wouldn't recommend it, just due to the lack of security. And there's a did you know screen that pops up here with 14 different tips on how to navigate the operating system. And given the fact that this was the first of its kind and there wasn't a whole lot of manuals written yet on how we wanted our interfaces to go, this is kind of neat. There is ways you can access bits and pieces of the operating system, but it's pretty undercooked from an operating system point of view. Some of the applications don't seem to function necessarily how you'd expect them to. It's running a very, very old version of Firefox, so connecting to the majority of the internet just simply isn't going to happen. It doesn't understand HTTPS, that sort of thing. But yeah, this is the interface. So yeah, this is running Mozilla Firefox 3.6 Beta 5. And yeah, that's the best that we can hope for. So anything that runs or requires a newer version of Firefox, it just simply isn't going to happen. Now, a couple of other things that you'll notice amongst the eagle-eyed among you, or if you've read my website, you'll notice that this keyboard is going to look really familiar. And that's because this is the keyboard that David Hill and his team put on this device. Now, originally, you'll know this if you've seen the Think Design Stories video, Richard Sapper just took an overlay of a standard ThinkPad keyboard and put it on the wooden model. And they decided, well, we're trying to get away from, you know, a lot of the iconic ThinkPad elements at that time. So they developed a different keyboard that had the exact same shape as the top of the keycap, but actually gave you more purchase space to actually type with. The DNA is irrefutably ThinkPad. The keyboard was such a success that it would go on to be on the ThinkPad Edge, the X1, and then of course pretty much on every modern ThinkPad and every modern Lenovo laptop to this day. So even though this machine didn't see a release, the legacy of what it was able to achieve is still with us today. So let's take this operating system for a test drive. So like I said, what you have to do is you need to find the application in the app drawer that you want. So if I wanted to play a video, I'm going to drag and drop it over the camera app. I can open up the video player, and I've got two options here.
My name is Samuel, Director of Marketing here at Lenovo. If you're like me, you're someone that probably has multiple devices. I have a laptop at home.
It's kind of surreal watching Skylight on a Skylight.
Great size keyboard.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Lenovo Skylight. I might do a few follow-up videos on this because, to my knowledge, this is one of the only ones out there that's out of the box, running, and in the hands of somebody that has the ability to film it. If you've got follow-up questions or if you have ideas on what I should try to do with it, make sure you're leaving them in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for supporting the channel over the years. It's your support that has given me the opportunities to learn about products like this and then bring them to you for us to examine on the channel. So once again, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.